Nothing in this election has challenged the viability of Singapore's brand of illiberal democracy. But Singaporeans are evidently not immune to a dose of democratic common sense. Government, they concluded, will perform better when confronted with the threat of unceremonious eviction, a threat that must occasionally be realized if it is to be taken seriously. Democratization, though, is more than just about seats in the legislature going one way or another. It can also be measured by the progress made in values such as tolerance of diversity, as well as practices such as the exercise of public reason. So has this been a great victory for progressive causes? That Singapore has hardly become a liberal society is shown by the fact that Singapore's middle ground continues to reject the SDP. Yes, it was the most improved party, but despite the fact that it had the most progressive platform, or should I say, because of the fact that it has the most progressive platform, its result was still a little below the opposition average. As for the Workers' Party, like thousands of others at Serangoon Stadium, I felt roused by the tide of people power. But I also felt uncomfortable when Loka Kiao, in the final 10 minutes of the most important speech of his political life to date, played the anti-foreign worker card. He reminded Serangoon Garden voters that they did not want the foreign worker dormitory to be built in their backyard. He criticized George for allowing the dormitory and saying that the important thing is to do what's right. You cannot always worry about votes. That was George Hill. I am proudest of my friends at MARUAH and TOC when they stand up for what's right, even when the government and the majority of Singaporeans are not interested. In ordinary times, MARUAH and TOC have not been afraid to champion workers' rights. I hope election fever hasn't obscured anyone's commitment to such causes. This leads me to my final point about the state of democratization, which is about creating a climate conducive to exercise of public reason. Personally, this has always been my main beef with the government. Singaporeans' openness and diversity in the cultural and economic realms have always been a great strength of the nation, but the government has been intolerant of political diversity. And some of us in this room have personally suffered the consequences. One of the positive developments we saw in this GE was ordinary citizens blowing the whistle on PAB politicians who displayed their intolerance and disrespect for opposing views and values. The public gave a strong signal that it would not stand for the kind of demonization of the opposition and castigation of the electorate that has occurred in past elections. The problem, though, is that while netizens helped to neutralize the PAP's negative campaign, they did little to build anything positive. Other than a handful of influential bloggers such as Alex Au, netizens did little to grow a space for the kind of deliberation that is associated with a mature public democratic culture. Instead of being cultivated as a space for reasoned debate, large expanses of online public space evolved into a grotesque mirror image of offline public space. The offline world has been rendered unconducive to the exercise of public reason by a thin-skinned, all-powerful government that builds pseudo-consensus by marginalizing opposing views. In reaction, opponents of the government have colonized cyberspace with a vengeance, ensuring that its spectrum of views are also limited in range, from the rabidly anti-government to the moderately anti-government. Unlike the government, netizens cannot easily use defamation law as a political weapon, nor are they able to fix the careers of opinion shapers in media or universities, nor control the role of NGOs that do not share their narrow worldview. Netizens can only use words to punish perceived ideological opponents, which include those who dare to utter anything positive about the government. So personal attacks, flagrant lies, and twisted logic are all part of the netizen arsenal. Instead of positions being arrived at through argument, arguments were marshaled according to entrenched positions. At best, the cyber opposition showed that it could outshout the government, thus giving the government second thoughts on its own intolerant approach to public debate. There is, however, no guarantee that Singapore will evolve to less polarized, more deliberative democracy. The internet has the potential to facilitate that evolution, but as of now, this remains a promise that is largely unfulfilled. Allow me to conclude with some remarks on the role of non-partisan civil society in pursuing a progressive agenda for Singapore. Although Loh Lia Kiang's winning battle cry was to start investing seriously in an alternative to PAP, the ruling party's continued dominance for at least the next 5 years, and probably 10 or more, is undeniable. Therefore, internal reform within government is still an important avenue for change. In the short term, it is the most important avenue. For anyone interested in this process, former Administrative Service Officer Donald Lau has written possibly the most important analysis of the government's internal dynamics post-GE. He points out that, I quote, internal party politics, the party's conservative ideology, and its hierarchical structure, unquote, are obstacles to PM Lee Hsien Loong's goal of achieving genuine reform. Dr. Lau points out the risk of a conservative backlash if liberals in government demand too much too soon. Reading such analyses, it is tempting to give up on the possibility of revolution from within. I know many Singaporeans who right now want to believe that the time has come when they can stop factoring the PAP into their calculations. Post-GE, they hope they can at last demand political change on their own terms, and if the PAP doesn't like it, they'll just take them out the next time. This is politically naive. Just as it is a mistake to put all our eggs in the government basket, it is surely also a mistake to put all our eggs in the anti-government or non-government basket. I think, therefore, reformers outside of government need to encourage and reinforce the government's internal reforms, applying pressure that is perceptible but without undermining the position of reformers within government. Singapore's more experienced civil society activists and public intellectuals, many of whom I see here today, have a crucial role to play here. These are individuals who have seen it all before, who have been slapped down many times, insulted, condescended to, treated like carriers of communicable diseases, but are still suckers of unpaid public service. These are people who approach problems with open eyes. They see the obstacles, they're not naive, but they also look out for glimmers of opportunity. And I think this is the kind of skeptical hopefulness and idealism that many experienced hands in civil society already possess, and I think this will be indispensable for encouraging positive change in Singapore. Thank you.